Firmly on the elements. It's just gone 1:15. That means it's time for us to get into the producer spotlight. And Mr. Instro is here.
I'm here.
Hello, Fave. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Look, it's been a bit of a tricky day, the heat and everything that's happening, but we'll be fine.
Now we'll be cool.
Producer spotlight today, taking a look at Will.I.Am. One of the things that made me excited is that we share a birthday.
Wow.
Will.I.Am and I share a birthday.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So that's so great.
It actually explains a lot. Just in terms of you guys' character. You guys are just like really out there and dope. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I just want to make that Will.I.Am money though, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming.
Talk to me about why we're taking a look at Will.I.Am today.
Okay, before we do that, it's very important. This is a producer's show, so we have to have a big congratulations to Hit Boy, and that's the guy I've been talking about, right?
I know.
I've been talking about Hit Boy throughout the year, and I'm so glad he got the BET nod because it says a lot, and it also like really drives the point that you're never too old, you know what I mean? And there were so many people that had written Hit Boy off, particularly because of, you know, his label situations where he had certain obligations, and now he's just come back, and he came back really hard. And I'm so proud, you know, I'm so proud as a producer to see him, you know, make those you know, those steps into, you know, creating himself to be the legend that he actually is.
I'm very, very happy. I was very happy with the results, with most of the results from the BET Hip Hop Awards. I remember when the nominations came out and you and I were speaking, I was like, Uncle sure.
Some lyricist.
Yo, that one. You know, I was like, never days. But big shout out to Rhapsody taking Lyricist of the Year. We will talk a little bit more about the BET Hip Hop Awards later on. Right now, back to the producer spotlight, taking a look at Will.I.Am. My twins.
Yes. So Will.I.Am, for me, I chose him because he's one of those weird producers that are tied to hip hop. You know, he's not necessarily hip hop, but part of who he is hip hop. You know, and
explain that.
And by that I mean, he's a musician. You know, his scope goes beyond what, you know, hip hop is, you know, it generally sounds like, you know, and the feel. And one of the things I wanted us to discuss is that as a hip hop music producer like me, right, how I came onto the scene was being known as a hip-hop producer, but my background wasn't really that, you know. It's something I got into my teenage years, but I've always loved music. I've always been in tune with, you know, your R&B, gospel music, jazz. So many other influences came in before hip-hop came in, and I found myself wanting to branch out, you know, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to, you know, mess with other genres, and I've done pretty well. And and Will.I.Am is pretty much the same. You know, you could never box him. You could have having a conversation with Will.I.Am will make you see that he's just extraordinary. You know, he's not like a typical guy. A lot of us, especially as producers, we're very what's the word? We're very closed, you know, and he's out there, you know.
Yeah, a lot of you producers are introverts, and you keep to generally the same people. I remember when I used to see you back in the day, I would see you either with a Reason or with an Akia or Kada, and not too many other people. There was generally a particular group of people that I'd see you around with.
And that's mainly because most of us chose to be producers because we knew we wouldn't have to be seen. You know what I mean? Like
that's changed today, though.
That's changed drastically. In fact, I think it's essential to be seen as a producer nowadays. You have to have like Because
and the reason I say that is because if you look back at the Suge Knights, Diddy, Tupac, Biggie era. You know, Suge was really going at Diddy at that point in time for being that producer who's dancing all over the stage and on the videos and everywhere. So at some point in time, it was not dope to be out there like that.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I think it's all part of, you know, the new world that we live in, where even if you're a lawyer, even if you're a doctor, you know, you've got access to social media where people have access to seeing you, you know. So it's I think also being a producer is a very quote unquote glamorous, you know, kind of occupation where you have these knobs in front of you and it looks so like cool, and you want to, I guess, bring people into that space. And I find that Will.I.Am has always just had the character to do that. He reminds me very much of Pharrell, right? Who we need to cover in the next few weeks.
We'll do that.
His brand is what makes him a brilliant producer, more than like his music or anything. His brand, like how he presents himself, how he speaks to people. When you watch his documentaries, you actually understand that he's chasing a feeling all the time. You know what I mean?
I was about to ask you, is it because he has a very humanitarian quality, very about
absolutely
people. You hear it in some of the musical projects that he's been a part of, even the way that he in his own way got involved in politics through the music that he was making as well, doing a lot of philanthropy. And it reminds me of a conversation, I'm not sure if I told you about it the one time when I was speaking to Shabsi Medallion, and he was obviously speaking from an artist perspective about how you can teach people skills, but you can't teach someone how to make the next person feel something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you're speaking about with Will.I.Am.
Yes, he's got a very interesting sense of humanness. I watched a documentary last night where he speaks so much about connecting. You know, that was like the word of that documentary, connecting. And I felt like you know, that quality is important in producers, because you're dealing with a lot of people with different energies, with different backgrounds, and you have to be able to balance that so you create this beautiful piece of work, you know. And I think he's managed to branch out into different genres, and I would even go as far as to say create his own sound, because he has such great relationships with people, you know. And he seems driven, you know, by, you know, wanting to connect with these people. How can producers get that right? Especially if you are, look, there are a lot of people who are just not personable, and they happen to make really great music. I look at some of the big artists and I'm like, I don't think I like you as a person from what you put out there, but the music that you make is absolutely incredible. So when you're speaking about production and having producers understanding the importance of connecting, if we had to get practical about it, how and where would we even start, if it is at all possible? It is possible. It's very possible. I think it starts with consciousness. What do you connect to? You know, some connect to God, some connect to nature, you know, whatever brings you your consciousness. I think that will bring you to you know, understand who you are first of all, and it'll definitely naturally transition into you connecting with other people. That's why a lot of people, as talented as they might be, if they don't have a certain level of consciousness, that talent pretty much fades away. So I think it's important to be in tune with who you are and to have humility and to learn it. You know, it's not just something that comes in here, especially because of the world that we live in. You know, I think there's a certain amount of, you know, humanness that's needed for you to have the kind of you know, power and drive that Will.I.Am has. You know, of course it's not like a prerequisite, but it's something that will take you and give you a 30-year career as opposed to like a 10-year career. You know, if you can connect with people, somebody can choose to work with you not because you're the best, but because they feel good when they're with you, or there's a certain feel that they feel, or a certain energy that you bring out of them, you know. And I've been also fortunate enough to be that kind of producer, you know. I've worked with quite a couple of artists, and I just question it all the time on some, yo, why am I even here? You know, I'm not even the best at doing this thing, you know. And it clicked. It's because of how I make them feel. It's how I bring out the artistry in them, you know. And that goes a long way. It's the difference between, you know, a really good check and no check at all.
Yeah, and it's all about the bag these days.
It's largely about the bag. We all have to survive somehow or another, and because it's important to, you know, harness your talent. You know, it's important to live off of it. You know, I think we play down why it's important to get the bag. It's important, but obviously it gets a little complicated on how you get it.
Yeah, because then we start looking at things like ethics, integrity, morals, values, and those kinds of things. And you know, in hip hop these days, it's not quite that clear.
It's tricky
as to whether those things exist for particular people or not.
Well, you know, I can vouch and say it still does, but it obviously comes with its own sacrifices. You know, I always tell people that, you know, what's important is your nose. You know, everything that you say no to.
You said that to me a couple of weeks ago, and it stuck with me. And I've been saying it to anybody who listens. Be like, yo, Mr. Instro said, especially in this industry, your nose you'll find to be a little bit more valuable than the things that you do say yes to.
Yeah, Kanye West. I saw a tweet yesterday asking who is the most wokest MC, and I said Kanye West because, you know, like, he just comes up with gems all the time. And he said everything I'm not made me everything I am. And I think everything that you see and you're like, this is not for me, because as human beings you inherently want to do what other people are doing because you want to be cool, you know. And
I think also because you might have seen something working for Mr. Instro, so you're like, okay, it worked for him, so I should do it because it must work for me then as well. Right.
And you know, it takes a lot to be able to look at it and look at it objectively and say, yeah, I mean, nah, this is not for me, you know, this is not, so I'll skip that. So I think when you have that trait, that quality, I think you'll be fine. You'll be fine in this game.
All right, so there's about just about 2 minutes left, right? And you wanted to speak about being a cross-genre producer.
Yes.
And you've touched on some of the things already.
Yes.
But let's unpack that quickly before we make way for Xoli and her quick news update at 1:30.
Okay, so here's a couple of things to keep in mind if you want to be a crossover producer. What is a crossover producer? It's a producer who wants to make music that is beyond what they're known for. You know, say a Timberland, for instance. He did you know, a lot of hip-hop stuff, but he also worked with Missy, who's an R&B legend.
Nelly Furtado as well.
Nelly Furtado in that Spanish space. Justin Timberlake. So first thing you need to do is you need to acquaint yourself with different kinds of music. It's crazy that, you know, I know quite a lot of producers that only listen to the genre that they produce, and it's like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, okay, so where do you get other inspiration from? You know, so it's important to you know, listen to as much music and as broadly as possible. Listen to the weird stuff, listen to the stuff that isn't a hit, listen to stuff your mother used to play, or
them's the gems.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and chances are you learn so much of where we are today if you go back, which leads me to my second you know, point. You need to understand the history about the genres that you want to go to. You know, if you want to study pop music, go to the producers who produced pop music. I mean, the internet is such a beautiful place.
Massive news updates with Will.I.Am.
Ollie's being rude.
Yeah, like go to those spaces and study, be a student of music. I think that'll really acquaint you in the most natural way, to getting into other genres. Yeah, I think those are the two things to consider for now.
I think also just to bring it back to Will.I.Am, really don't be afraid to do weird things and really, really think outside of the box.
Absolutely.
As I was reading up on him about the fact that he was the first to send music out to Mars, and he had music playing from Mars as part of a NASA project.
Yeah.
And I think those kinds of things that you think would not have anything to do with what you are about and what you are doing, are the things that will draw inspiration even for yourself.
Absolutely.
So don't be afraid to explore and expand. Maybe I'll learn
be brave.
Some Zulu as well. Only come teach me some Zulu here. Maybe I can get it right one day. I'll do the full show in Zulu. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens. A big shout out to Mr. Instro. That's been the producer spotlight for today.